Have you ever felt like you had to shrink in order to fit into someone else's comfort zone or really like dim your light and kind of become less than in order to be accepted by someone close to you? I know the feeling all too well. For so many years, I had to become something different, make myself smaller and more agreeable for people to really love me. I felt like I had to prove that I was something different in order to be accepted. And we're going to talk a lot today about how to be yourself unapologetically and hold boundaries and space to really honor yourself and really know that you have worth inherently just because you exist. So, we're going to just really talk through how to honor yourself today. And I think that's a beautiful, glorious message. I think a lot of us were taught that love and acceptance is something that has to be earned, like being quiet or people pleasing, putting others first, and really being on your best behavior in order to be loved and accepted. It sounds crazy, but if you're with me, drop a comment in the section below and let me know if you're with me, because I know for me personally, that's something that I dealt with when I was growing up. And I always felt like I had to be something different in order to be accepted. It was that conditional love versus that unconditional love. And I'm still learning unconditional love, to be honest. And it's taken a long time to even realize that it's something different than what I grew up with. But here's the truth that no one's telling us is that you don't have to prove it. You inherently are worthy because you exist. You don't have to perform for it because you already have it within you. You are worthy. I'm going to say it again. You are worthy because you exist, and your worth is not up for debate. Let's talk about ways you may be trying to prove your worth or validate your worth to others that may show up in your life. So, here's some examples. So, maybe productivity is how you tie your worth. Like, I'm worthy because I'm productive. That's a huge one, especially here in America, where if I'm not productive, I feel guilty, right? Like, so maybe you tie yourself to your productivity. So, that's something, anything that's outside of yourself is showing that you're trying to prove your worth and that you're not open to just letting yourself be as you are. Because simply existing means you're worthy. There should be no guilt around existing, right? I mean, you wouldn't say that to your friend, oh, you weren't productive today, so you're not worthy, right? So, productivity is one way that it could show up for you. Maybe another one is how you perform for others. So maybe being of service is actually validation for proving your worth. I don't know if that one resonates, but that's another one. And another one is perfectionism, right? So that's that validating outside of myself. If I do it perfectly, I will be loved and accepted. So those are a few ways to see if you're trying to prove your worth, because a lot of times we are, and it's very common. You're not alone if you're doing this. So I wanted to mention that as well. When you really know your worth, I mean, like really, really know your worth, everything in your life changes, not just some of the things, everything. You stop kind of chasing people, you stop trying to prove things, and you just kind of let yourself be and you protect who you are. You want to put up those boundaries because once you really, really, really know your inherent worth, everything changes. It's a game changer. You start really showing up fully in your life. And because of those boundaries, you're really being your most authentic self. And if no one's told you lately, I'll be the one to say it. You are enough just as you are. You are enough just as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. So now let's talk about self-respect. It's not just a buzzword, but it's really something that affects every single decision that you make in your life. Self-respect is how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. So it's really that, what do you do for yourself and how do you treat yourself when no one's around? And this includes the thoughts in your head, because a lot of times people tell me they have a lot of negative self-talk in their head, and that includes, this is part of that self-respect. Or maybe there's a quiet but powerful voice when you're alone that says, I deserve better, right? And you really listen to that, because when you listen to I deserve better, that is self-respect. And then your actions start following those thoughts and your behaviors change. When you respect yourself, your standards completely shift. You stand up for yourself. You don't tolerate relationships that don't respect you. And you don't apologize for taking up space. And most importantly, you don't negotiate with people that only love you when you're being that convenient version of yourself for them. And you start making decisions from a really grounded place instead of from fear. And that's a big difference. When you're grounded and you know I am worthy of showing up for myself, that's grounded. That's like that earth energy where you know it's a different way of showing up in the world versus being fearful. Will they like me? Looking for validation, right? So that's where it really changes and transforms your life. Okay, let's talk about boundaries. And no, they are not about shutting people out of your life. It's about letting the right people in with the right amount of energy and the right amount of space. Think of boundaries as kind of like this invisible barrier around you, and it's like your emotions, right? So, this barrier is your emotions, and who you let in to this space, they're going to affect your energy and how you feel. So, I want you to kind of think of it that way because you're kind of like the guard, right? You are the person that is setting who's allowed to come into the gate of your heart space, and who's not. And there's reasons why, because I think we've talked in previous videos about like how people make you feel. And if people drain you, you don't want them accessing your energy field, right? That those are the people to keep at a distance. But if they're bringing you energy and joy and they see you and they love you, then you probably want those people in your space. Boundaries can be a little bit difficult because if you've said yes a lot of times in your life, but you really wanted to say no, getting comfortable with it can take some time, to be honest. And at first, it may not be perfect, but we're talking about like progress, not perfection. So you don't have to be perfect at boundary setting, but it's important to start implementing boundaries because otherwise, you'll always kind of feel drained. You won't be showing up and being able to show up fully as yourself and have that self respect that we just talked about. So let's talk about some examples of boundary setting and some things you can say instead of saying yes. When someone oversteps your time at work and assigns you a project when you don't have time for it, something you can say in response to that is, I'd love to support you, but I can't commit to that at this time. Thank you. When someone asks for too much from you emotionally, you can say, I'd really love to help you, but I don't have the emotional capacity for that right now. When someone challenges a decision that you've made, you can reply with, I took a lot of time to think about this decision. I feel really good about it, but thank you. When you need to take some time for space in your life or take space from a person in your life, you can say, I'm taking some time to recharge and I'll check in with you later. And when guilt comes in, as it often does when you're setting boundaries, you can just remind yourself that I'm respecting myself and there's no reason for me to feel guilt right now. And every time you're setting a boundary, you're telling yourself, I am worth protecting. I am worth protecting. How beautiful is that? You're your own protector by setting these boundaries. That's so, so beautiful. And every time you're saying no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to something that's energizing you. As you're living through your day to day, it's going to show up for you in really small, subtle decisions that you make. And sometimes they're silent to yourself. So check in with yourself before you reply to someone and say, does this align with what I value and who I am? Because again, we're respecting ourselves and we're creating those energetic boundaries around ourselves. We're not trying to people please and be everything to everyone anymore. This is a life that needs to feel good for you and who you truly are. And here's the radical honesty about this is that you may disappoint others. You may lose people in your life. It's not easy setting boundaries, but I trust me that you will have the right people in your life and the ones that do actually value you and they're not just using you. I hate to be so blunt about it, but I will be. So you'll have the right people in your life once you start setting boundaries. Those that kind of get angry about it or they're disappointed, they're probably hanging on to you for something that's not genuine or authentic. And the people that honor that, and or maybe they're just a little surprised at first because people will be surprised. They're used to you being saying yes all the time. But once you really instate those boundaries and people that respect that over time, those are your people. You'll know those are the people that are aligned with you and your values and your vision. And some things that you'll get from instituting boundaries is really a sense of peace in your life. You'll also get clarity. And most importantly, you're going to gain being your authentic self. You'll be yourself. And that's so, so important. You'll just start feeling better. Trust me. Like I said, I used to be the person that was a people pleaser, and sometimes I still catch myself in that. But the more and more I live in my authenticity and I don't seek outside validation, the better my life becomes. The sweeter life becomes, truly. Trust me, it's amazing. And I'd love to hear from you. So, what is one boundary that you have set in your life or that you want to set in your life? I'd love to hear some boundaries from people, places, things that you think are important. Or if you have a question on how to set a boundary, also drop that in the comments. And I also encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe. It's totally free. So click the little subscribe button and the little bell for notifications when a new video is posted. And happy boundary setting. And gosh, this is so, I don't even know how to describe it, but I just love this so much because authenticity and protecting ourselves is just so vital to our success and our happiness and joy in this world. So, anyway, that's all I have for this week. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.